have a climate crisis and we're still subsidizing the industry which is causing the crisis. I mean, it's completely dumb. I'm a finance guy, it makes no sense whatsoever. And furthermore, and even more scarily, the IMF has been making this point for many years, and our great leaders have been talking about how they're going to end subsidies, and they just don't.
But we need to do more. And one thing, as we look at these numbers on fossil fuel subsidies, one thing that's important to recall is that even though 2020 was such a hard year for so many, at the same time, we actually had, in countries around the world, we had about $350 billion of direct subsidies and tax expenditures, tax breaks, given to fossil fuels.
And this is a clock that shows you how much money has been spent on fossil fuel subsidies since the beginning of the COP.
It's mind-boggling.
And it's eye-watering. And you know, people are arguing about whether there's $100 billion for the developing countries, and there's $54 billion being spent on that.
A big talking point on this meeting is the climate fund pledge, $100 billion. They have a hard time to agree on that money. Who is going to finance it and how.
Yeah.
But $100 billion, that is what we are going to count up the fossil fuel subsidies before the end of this meeting. So this is the problem, and the emperor is naked when we disclose these numbers.
As we can see here, we're now using fossil energy, fossil vehicles, fossil material, and linear business models, but this need to be shifted. This need to be shifted to renewable energy, to shared and electrified vehicles, to fossil-free material, to circular business models.
In my opinion, change actually has to come from the companies themselves. I think there's a lot of things that come up through investor engagement, and companies make adjustments, and I think that's a good thing. But if we think about real transformational change, because what we're talking about in a lot of senses are really changes to business models, those changes have to come from a desire within the companies themselves to want to change and to become something else.
Companies need now to understand how their business models and their operations can evolve to fit in a low carbon economy, and what the journey to net zero could look like. I think forward-leaning players have recognized for a long time that sustainable business is also a business that will generate higher returns in the long run. And this certainly includes ourselves at Ericsson. We have a long, and if I dare say, a proud history within sustainability.
Is we are seeing the greatest transformation of an economy and the greatest allocation of capital probably in the history of mankind. And it's going to be going to all the areas that you need, whether it's electricity, transport, or industry.
We need our governments to steer our economies in the right direction, and this price on carbon will do that. And we need policies that will protect us, the people, civilization, from those of us who act on their worst instincts and just not care about other people.
You know, that this is a particular way of pricing emissions, and that is so great because the money gets returned to the people. The key thing here is to always remember it gets returned in equal shares. That means that you actually have a progressive income effect of this instrument, meaning that about 60% of all the households in a particular country, and this works for most Western economies, for sure numbers are being assembled for developing countries, but it's actually more skewed in developing countries even. So what it means is that 60% actually have more money in their pocket because of this instrument.
Yes, it's important that polluters will pay. But for me, it's even more important that we create a market that's so huge that every young startup entrepreneur will just think about how I will reduce carbon emissions. because that will make me rich. I want to have the richest person on earth, the man or woman who really solves that problem. That's what's needed now.